For every Spider-Man movie fans rewatch every year, there's one they like to pretend never happened. Starting with the film most fans still call the greatest superhero sequel ever made, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2 is not just the best Spider-Man movie. A lot of people will tell you it's the best superhero movie, period, and what makes it so special isn't the action. Though the train sequence alone deserves its own award, it's that Raimi understood something most superhero films still haven't figured out. The costume is the least interesting thing about the character. Peter Parker in this film is a complete mess. He's failing college, he can't pay rent, he's so overwhelmed by the pressure of being Spider-Man that his body literally shuts down his powers. Not from a villain, but from stress. That's a genuinely adult idea wrapped inside a movie about a man in tights fighting a guy with robot arms. Then there's Alfred Molina as Dr. Octopus, one of the best superhero villains ever put to screen, a man Peter admired who let one terrible decision consume him completely.
Parker, now I remember you. You're Connor's student. Tells me you're brilliant. He also tells me you're lazy.
You wanted Spider-Man to win without wanting Otto to lose. The film pulls that off without breaking a sweat. But while Spider-Man 2 showed what a superhero sequel could be, our next film showed what happens when a studio loses trust in its director and forces him to cram 3 movies into one. Sam Raimi did not want to make this version of Spider-Man 3. He had a clean plan: Sandman as the main villain, the Harry Osborn arc finally landing, an emotional close to the trilogy. Then Sony told him to add Venom. Raimi wasn't a Venom fan. He grew up with the 1970s comics and never connected to the character, but producer Avi Arad pushed hard, and in went Venom. And with Venom came the black symbiote suit. And with the suit came the emo Peter sequence. The moment this movie became permanently cemented as a punchline.
Give me rent.
You'll get your rent when you fix this damn door!
Tobey Maguire in eyeliner, finger-gunning women on the street, dancing in a jazz club. It was supposed to show Peter's dark side emerging. What it showed instead was that his idea of going evil was just being mildly embarrassing. Then came the Venom reveal. Topher Grace was cast. Fans who had been waiting for a proper live-action Venom were devastated, and the character appeared in less than 30 minutes of a 2.5-hour film. Bad. It was trying to do too much with too many stories. And while I like Topher Grace, he was absolutely the wrong person to cast as Eddie Brock. 3 villains, 2 love triangles, 1 reckoned origin. Spider-Man 3 taught us that too many cooks ruin a perfectly good symbiote. But our next film didn't need corporate interference to be a mess. It arrived animated, bold, and completely extraordinary. Nobody expected this. Sony Animation does not have a reputation for visionary films, and yet, in 2018, they produced what many critics and fans now call the greatest superhero movie ever made. Into the Spider-Verse is built on a simple idea: anyone can wear the mask. Miles Morales, a black and Puerto Rican teenager from Brooklyn, gets bitten by a radioactive spider and has to figure out how to become Spider-Man with no playbook and no mentor he actually asked for. The animation genuinely had never been done before, rendered like a comic book in motion. Different frame rates, halftone dots, color bleed effects, onomatopoeia literally popping off the screen during fight scenes. Every frame is packed with personality.
Please stop sticking. Please keep Wait. How could there be 2 Spider-Men? There can't be 2 Spider-Men.
Beneath all that style is a story with a real heart. The bond between Miles and a burned-out, divorced Peter B. Parker, a man who lost everything and had to find a reason to keep going, is one of the most quietly moving dynamics in any superhero film. Filmmakers like James Gunn named it their all-time favorite superhero movie. It won the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature, and it deserved every vote. While Spider-Verse dared to try something completely new, our next film tried something simpler: build a franchise. It failed so spectacularly at it that it killed an entire universe before it even got started. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 had one job: continue the story of Peter and Gwen, the one element everyone agreed was working, and build towards a bigger franchise. It failed at almost every step. 3 villains: Electro, the Green Goblin, and a Rhino, who shows up for about 90 seconds as a teaser for a sequel that would never get made. None of them got enough time to matter. The script juggled a corporate conspiracy at Oscorp, Peter's parents' subplot, a romance, and franchise setup, and instead of doing any of it well, it did all of it badly. Jamie Foxx's Electro had isolated moments of promise. Dane DeHaan's Harry Osborn went from troubled air to Green Goblin with almost no space to breathe between the two. And then they killed Gwen Stacy, one of the most famous moments in comic book history, and rushed it into the final act of a film so overstated that the emotional weight it deserved never had room to land. The franchise immediately collapsed. Amazing Spider-Man 3 was canceled. The Sinister Six film disappeared completely. The irony is that Andrew Garfield himself was never the problem. No Way Home proved that conclusively. The problem was Sony tried to build a cinematic universe before they'd made a film worth building on. But before we continue, if you're enjoying this breakdown so far, hit that subscribe button right now. We drop videos like this all the time, and you don't want to miss what's coming next. It only takes a second, and it helps us keep bringing you content like this. And we're jumping straight back to the good side with the film that had the entire internet convinced it was lying about who was in it right up until the moment the lights went down. Nothing in recent superhero history prepared audiences for what No Way Home actually delivered. Everybody knew Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield were coming back. The leaks, the fan art, the Reddit speculation, it was basically an open secret at that point. And somehow, despite everybody expecting it, the moment it actually happened still caused full theater meltdowns across the world.
Are you teasing me?
No. He's not teasing you. It's just that we can't do that. So naturally, we're curious as to how your web situation works. That's all.
But if it's personal, I don't want to pry, but I just think it's cool.
The film earned that reaction by doing something smarter than just bringing them back. It made their return matter to the story. Tom Holland's Peter wasn't just sharing a screen with two legacy versions of himself for nostalgia alone. He was learning from them. Three Spider-Men processing shared grief and shared responsibility on a rooftop is one of the most emotionally earned scenes the franchise has ever produced. And then Andrew Garfield caught MJ. The callback to the moment he couldn't save Gwen turned into a redemption that audiences didn't know they needed. I adore the look on Andrew's face when he saves MJ from falling. He redeemed himself for not being able to save Gwen and forgave himself in that moment. No Way Home proved that fan service done right is genuinely powerful. Our next entry is the cautionary tale of what happens when a studio thinks a famous name alone is enough to carry a movie. No story required. Morbius did not become famous because it was good. It became famous because it was so bad the entire internet turned it into a shared joke. And the joke outlived the film itself. Jared Leto plays Michael Morbius, a scientist who experiments on himself and becomes a living vampire. A workable concept, 15% on Rotten Tomatoes. Rolling Stone called it the most anemic Marvel movie ever made. That's not a mixed review. That's a eulogy. Then something strange happened. When the film hit streaming, the internet embraced it. Ironically, memes claimed it made more billions of dollars and earned 203% on Rotten Tomatoes. The phrase, "It's morbid time," a fake catchphrase Morbius never actually says in the film, became one of the most shared memes of 2022. You know it's gonna suck when a movie about vampires can't even show actual blood. This was a film nobody asked for. The memes were funnier than the movie itself. And that's not a compliment. And that brings us back to where it all started. The film that built the foundation before any of this even existed. Sam Raimi's original Spider-Man made $114 million in its opening weekend in May 2002, becoming the first film in history to crack $100 million in a single weekend. More importantly, it proved that superhero movies could work, that sincerity wasn't a weakness, and that audiences wanted to feel something. In 2002, the genre was on shaky ground. Batman and Robin had nearly killed it 5 years earlier. Raimi walked into that environment and made something completely alive.
Think you're pretty funny, don't you, freak?
Flash, it was just an accident.
My fist breaking your teeth, that's the accident.
Come on, Flash, stop.
I don't want to fight you, Flash.
I wouldn't want to fight me neither.
He leaned hard into emotion, humor, romance, and tragedy. All the things that the genre had mostly avoided. Tobey Maguire played Peter as genuinely awkward and genuinely trying. Willem Dafoe made the Green Goblin one of the most unhinged villains in superhero cinema, a man having full conversations with himself through a mirror. Spider-Man is somewhat of a masterpiece itself. And then at the other end of the spectrum, a film arrived with a huge cast, a big budget, and somehow managed to make everyone forget that Spider-Man exists. Madame Web opened to $26 million over Valentine's Day weekend in 2024. Rotten Tomatoes gave it 13%. Dakota Johnson plays Cassie Webb, a paramedic who starts seeing the future and reluctantly protects 3 teenagers who will someday become Spider-Woman. That premise could theoretically work, but in these hands, it produced what critics called the worst superhero movie since Morbius, which was itself still a fairly fresh memory. The dialogue was instantly iconic for the wrong reasons. Lines were delivered with such baffling flatness that clips spread across social media within days. The villain was thoroughly forgettable. The characters had no meaningful reason to be in the same film at all.
You can see the future. Can't you stop him with your visions?
I don't know how to control them. It's useless.
And somehow, in a movie built entirely around Spider-Man's universe, the audience was left wondering whether Spider-Man was ever involved at all. It is, in fact, way worse. A genuine Chernobyl-level disaster that seems to get exponentially more radioactive as it goes along. 2 consecutive Sony Spider-Man films holding that same title. That's not bad luck. That's a pattern. Sony's own outgoing CEO later admitted the franchise needed a total rethink. A little late, but acknowledged. Madame Web is the full stop at the end of a very long sentence about what happens when a studio chases a universe without first making films worth caring about. But no matter how bad it gets, we always come back for Spider-Man. Let me know your favorite Spider-Man movie in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.